Mate, I could take Monokuma one-on-one.
I'm out of Pokeballs!
What is going on, my Bardo boys and girls? Manny Bardo here. The weather is looking rainy, but right now, in this moment, I'm inviting you to take part in today's challenge. That's right, as you can see by the title in this video, I'm going to give you 3 Pokemon riddles to solve. Now, 2 of these riddles I've either heard before or come across, and they entertain me quite a bit, so I've decided to use them today, but they will be Pokemon themed. But one of these riddles I have definitely made myself. But before we get into that, please be sure to hit that like button down below if you enjoyed the video. Please comment if you were able to solve any of the riddles, and of course subscribe if you want more content. Now that we got the shameless plugging out of the way, let us start with the first riddle. Riddle number 1. Wizard hat, chef hat. I'm sure some of you now are thinking very deeply about the meaning of the name, but it has no relevance at all, so please do not worry about that. So let us begin with the scenario. The villainous Team Rocket are up to their old dirty tricks again and have abducted 4 cast form and said they will only let them free if they can solve their little riddle. 3 of the cast form are placed on a staircase with the last cast form behind the door in front of them. To make things easier, I'm going to label the cast form 1, 2, 3 and 4. Each of the 4 cast forms has been given a hat, but they are not aware of what the hat looks like. 2 of them receive a chef's hat and the other 2 receive a wizard's hat. Now, as you can see, cast forms labelled 1 and 3 have a chef hat, and cast forms labelled 2 and 4 have a wizard's hat. For the cast form to solve this riddle, they have to tell one of the members of Team Rocket which hat they are wearing. I mean, that seems pretty easy, right? Well, here's the thing. All the cast forms are not allowed to talk to each other, and they have to be facing forward. Which means cast form number 1 can see cast form 2 and 3, cast form 2 can see number 3, but cast form 3 can only see a door, and cast form 4 can only see the wall. The cast forms are aware, however, 2 of the cast forms have wizard hats and the other 2 have chef hats. With this information in mind, it seems pretty unlikely that the cast forms will be able to solve this riddle. Well, one of the cast forms does, and once they get it right, all the cast forms roam free. So, can you figure out which cast form was able to solve the riddle and how they did it? I'm going to give you guys 15 seconds to try and figure this one out, but of course you can pause the video if you need more time. Yo, you know what? Game Freak should definitely invest in this cast form chef hat wizard hat design idea. Chef hat cast form's like, yo, you seen the weatherballs, mate? Well, check out these meatballs. Okay, time's up. Did you guys solve the riddle? If you said the answer was cast form 1, then you're wrong. It's actually cast form 2. So let me explain why. So as you guys know already, cast form 4 has a wizard's hat, but none of the other cast forms are able to see it. So cast form 4 is pretty much out of this equation, which leaves cast forms 1, 2 and 3 to try and figure this one out. So cast form 1 can see cast form 2 and 3 and can clearly see that they have different styled hats. But what if cast form 2 and 3 had the same styled hat? Now, if this was to happen, then cast form 1 would straight away realise that itself and cast form 4 would have the same styled hat. For example, if 2 and 3 both had a wizard's hat, that would leave 1 and 4 both having a chef's hat, which would have meant that cast form 1 would have said that straight away. Knowing this, cast form 2 picks up on cast form 1's awkward silence and realises that itself and cast form 3 don't have the same hats. Now, all that cast form 2 has to do is say that it's wearing the opposite hat of cast form 3, which is a wizard's hat. Don't let these small creatures fool you, they are smart little devils. Riddle number 2. Alakazam's marbles. And Mr. Mime Jr. is happily walking down a path when he comes across a group of Pokemon spectating some sort of event. He sees a Noctowl and asks why are all these Pokemon gathered here. The Noctowl replies, "For years." Oh yeah, Pokemon can talk in these riddles, by the way, but the Noctowl replies, "For years this cave entrance has been blocked by an Alakazam. Alakazam has told everyone who wishes to enter the cave that they are not allowed through unless they can beat him at his game." The Mr. Mime Jr. then asks what kind of game he has to play if he wants to enter the cave. The Noctowl then says, "It's a simple game really. The Alakazam will show you a hat. In this hat, there are 2 marbles, one that is red and one that is blue. If you wish to pass, you simply have to pick the blue marble. But be aware that you are not allowed to see the marbles while you pick them. Even though that it seems to be a 50-50% chance, no one for years has been able to pick the blue marble." The Mr. Mime Jr. was eager to play the game and stepped forward to the Alakazam. He also noticed that the Alakazam had 2 bodyguards consisting of an Aggron and a Rhydon. Mr. Mime Jr. felt it was strange that Alakazam would have bodyguards. So what he decided to do was use his psychic powers to see through the hat to see the marbles. He was shocked and surprised on what his eyes gazed upon, as he saw that there was only 2 red marbles in the hat. Mr. Mime Jr. wanted to tell all the Pokemon that it was all a big trick, but he was smart, and he realized that if he were to say anything, the bodyguards might step in. But our Mr. Mime Jr. came up with a different plan to win the game, leaving Alakazam no choice but to let him through into the cave. Now, how did Mr. Mime Jr. do this? I'll give you 15 seconds. I do kind of question where Alakazam got that hat from. I could have thought that group of Pokemon would team up to take them down, but anyway, time is up. It's time to reveal the answer. After Mr. Mime Jr. used his psychic powers to see that there were 2 red marbles in the hat, he wanted to tell everyone of Alakazam's dirty plan, but obviously felt that the bodyguards might step in if he said anything. So what clever Mr. Mime Jr. did was he picked up one of the marbles without showing anyone what colour it was. The Alakazam ordered him to open his hand, but before he could say much more, Mr. Mime Jr. picked out the other marble and showed everyone that it was red. He then stated, "If the second marble I picked out was red, that means the first marble I picked out was blue, which means I have won the game." Alakazam didn't want anyone to know of his trick, so he let the Mr. Mime Jr. through. Riddle number 3. The Cherry Berry Thief. This third riddle is actually the riddle that I made myself, so I hope you enjoy it. A trainer planned to spend most of his day training 4 of his Pokemon. The 4 Pokemon consisted of Horsey, Elekid, Poochyena, and Grimer. The trainer came up with the idea that it would take 2 of the Pokemon to battle wild Pokemon, while the other 2 Pokemon would spar against each other. The trainer found a spot in the forest with a table that he planned to be the meeting place. He told everyone that the 2 Pokemon he would take to fight wild Pokemon with him would fight for about 15 minutes, then return back to the meeting place. And the 2 Pokemon that were sparring against each other were told to stay here and train against each other for 10 minutes with a 5-minute break. The trainer placed some berries on the table consisting of an Oran Berry, a Chesto Berry, a Pecha Berry, and the Cherry Berry. And then he said, after we are all done, we could all eat the berries to celebrate. The first group he took with him was the Horsey and the Grimer, and he told the Poochyena to practice his physical moves and for the Elekid to practice its defenses. And of course, after 15 minutes, everyone returned to the meeting place. Then the trainer took the Poochyena and the Elekid with him to fight the wild Pokemon, while he told the Horsey to practice his special attacking moves and the Grimer to practice his special defenses. And after another 15 minutes had passed, everyone met at the meeting place. The trainer then glanced at the table and realized that the Cherry Berry was missing. He felt very confused and asked all of his Pokemon if anyone had eaten the Cherry Berry. All the Pokemon told him that they had no idea that it was missing. The trainer then asked everyone one by one what they did with their 5 minutes of free time. Firstly, he asked the Horsey, and Horsey replied he went for a little swim in the river. The second Pokemon he asked was Elekid, and Elekid replied with he was climbing the tallest trees he could find. He then asked Poochyena, and Poochyena replied with, he was racing a Zigzagoon that he found in the wild. And lastly, Grimer said that he took a nap. Realizing the situation, the trainer was giggling as he noticed exactly which Pokemon took the cherry berry. Do you also know who it was? Let's find out. So, I'm going to reveal to you now that Horsey, Elekid, and Grimer are the innocent ones. That's right, which means the answer is Poochyena. Let's have a look at the facts. Special effects. So some of you have probably noticed that the only time the cherry berry could have been taken is in their 5 minutes of free time. The reason for this is because every other time there were witnesses. Like for example, when the trainer took 2 Pokemon to fight wild Pokemon, the trainer was the witness to those 2 Pokemon, and the 2 other Pokemon that were sparring were witnesses to each other. But I mean, if you look back what everyone said, no one's story actually told us that someone took a berry, but one of them lied. Are you guys ready to facepalm and say, oh yeah, of course, I mean like, yeah, I didn't really look at it that way, yeah, I guess, yeah. Here we go. So Elekid's common ability is static, and we are told that the trainer wanted Poochyena to practice his physical moves on the Elekid, which would have probably meant that after a few hits it would have been paralyzed. This actually means 2 things. 1, the Poochyena would not have been able to have a race against the Zigzagoon, and 2, it probably wanted to have the cherry berry so it could restore its paralysis, which means Poochyena is the only choice. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. As I said before, hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, comment down if you were able to solve any of the riddles, and of course subscribe if you want more content. But with that, I have been Mr. MB straight from the PC, and I'm gonna eat the rest of these berries, so I'll see you guys later.